Come Saturday this week, that is January 13th, we celebrate Korean American Day. And in light of this occasion, we speak with a pair of young Korean Americans actively seeking to do their part in keeping U.S. politics running. Hello, it's Friday here in Korea and you're watching Issues and Insiders. I'm Min Sunhee. We are looking ahead to Korean American Day on Saturday, a day to commemorate the contributions of these individuals to their respective communities. For more on this, I have Joy Lee live on the line. Joy, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I also have Kenneth Ahn with us. Kenneth, welcome to the program.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Right then, Joy, let's begin with some details about your current work there in the U.S. as well as your early voyage to the country.
So I am currently working as the Deputy Communications Director for the House Democratic Whip of Catherine Clark. And previously, I was working for Speaker Nancy Pelosi in her office as her National Press Secretary. So I was born in South Korea, and when I was 6 years old, my family and I immigrated to the United States to Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where I grew up, and I went to school, and I was lucky enough following graduation at the University of Georgia to be able to find a job in the Speaker's office, then Minority Leader at the time, and I grew in her press office.
Right, and Kenneth, do tell us a bit about your professional work and your personal journey to the U.S.
Yeah, no, I was actually born and raised in Koreatown, Los Angeles. My parents immigrated here in the 80s, doing a bunch of odd jobs, and they scraped enough money to start their own small business, which afforded me the ability to go to college. But to their dismay, I studied psychology in my undergraduate studies, not law or medicine, but I always want to help people, and so I stuck with it. Did a lot of community organizing during my time there, and I realized that that's what I want to do as a career. So I got my master's in social work, focusing on what we call macro, which is community organizing, program administration, policy work. And that's where I got to intern for then Congressmember Karen Bass. And then I was stuck with her ever since. So it's been a really wonderful ride.
Right, I see. Joe, I understand that initially you were thinking about a career in broadcast reporting before you walked into politics, that is. Could you walk us through your path into politics? How did that start?
Yes. So as you mentioned, I studied broadcast journalism in school. I was always very interested in politics, and I thought maybe one day I would work in the journalism part of politics, but I was up here for a little bit in this area looking for a job, and then I was able to somehow get an opportunity in then Minority Leader Pelosi's office, and I kind of fell in love with the work and being able to pursue a career in communications, which I was always interested in, but also be a public servant. And I think the combination of those two things kind of led me to continue to grow in that role.
Right. And what about you, Kenneth? How did it all start? You spoke about working for Congresswoman Karen Bass, and that was, I understand, was what, for 7 years, was it, before you started working for her when she became the mayor of LA?
That's correct. Yeah. So my start in politics came by complete accident. So again, my graduate degree is in social work, and Karen Bass, then Congressmember Karen Bass, came up as an internship placement option. And I really thought, what does social work and politics have to do with each other? And so I decided to explore it. And then when I got into her office, I realized, wow, I have this person who's really using her position of power to really do some good in her community. And so when you look at her district, she used to have this really, really wealthy part of her district, and then we used to have really under-resourced areas. And I saw her pouring a good chunk of her energy into empowering her community, whether or not she got votes or not. That didn't matter. And so that really made me think internally about my own community, where in Koreatown, I was like, man, do we really have people doing that for us? And so it really inspired me to really think about Koreatown and civic engagement, and that's how I got involved with the Korean American Democratic Committee, and that's how it started.
Right, Kenneth, Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles, she's the first female to have been appointed to this particular post. And you've been observing firsthand, if I may, this remarkable history in the making. What has that experience, Kenneth, been like?
Yeah, no, it's nothing short of remarkable. And, this isn't the first time she's being a trailblazer. She was appointed the Speaker of the California Assembly before this. And so she's just been, trailblazing throughout her history. And on her first day as mayor, she really she declared a state of emergency for the homelessness crisis that we're experiencing in Los Angeles. And that's huge because no other mayor has ever decided that this was a focal point. And last month, we just celebrated our 1-year mark, and we're happy to report that we were able to bring in 21,000 Angelenos inside through her Inside Safe initiative. And so we're really proud of those numbers and the work that we've done. I find her to be a visionary and dedicated to solving all the various issues of our community. And so I'm proud to be part of this administration and proud of the work that we're doing.
Right. Joy, what can you share with us about the participation of the Korean American community, that is, in U.S. politics over the years?
To me, I think it's all about representation and people who aspire to be in politics, to be able to see people, members of Congress and staffers who look like them. And I think I was very lucky to be able to find colleagues and, of course, members and mentors in the Asian American community who have inspired me and who have helped me and supported me along the way. And I think the more representation and the more availability of Asian Americans in politics, the more people will be able to see themselves in it and I think have a desire to be more involved. And I would say certainly in my time on Capitol Hill, which has been 8 years, I've definitely seen a growth of Asian American staffers and interns who definitely are interested in being more involved.
Right. And Joy, you've been applauded by a U.S. political publication as being one of 25 staffers who've made keep Capitol Hill running. As you've mentioned, you were there for the past 8 years. Describe an ordinary workday. When does it start and when does it end?
So no day on the Hill is like any other, I would say, but definitely when we're in session, it's always quite busy. So it starts very early in the morning, depending on, the press and communication schedule for the whip. And so I will typically get up very early, be in tune with the news of the day, and make sure that I am aware of everything going on so that my boss will also be in the know and not miss anything, especially as she is quite busy in all that she does. And if I could just add one thing, I think any recognition is part because of the office and the support that you have around you. And I've been very lucky and fortunate to be able to work for both Speaker Pelosi and the whip, both two of the most powerful women in Congress. And I think kind of being a part of their teams, it certainly keeps you busy and it's a long day, but it's certainly worth it. And you learn every single day something new.
And how do you manage to keep a work-life balance, Joy? Because it sounds really busy and hectic there.
Yeah, so I would say sometimes balance is not always attainable, but I think because if you love the work and you find purpose in it and you're able to grow professionally, you know that this is a time where you're sacrificing maybe a little bit of your personal life. And I think that's okay because you know that this is an honor and a privilege to be able to do so. So I kind of look at it that way. And, in terms of logistics, not a whole lot of balance exists, but it's definitely the most fulfilling and rewarding work.
Right, indeed. And Kenneth, I'd like to ask you the same question. I'm sure you're really busy as well. How do you manage to keep a work-life balance?
It's tough, I will say. But I think because I believe in the work that we're doing, it doesn't feel like work. And so, I think being intentional about my time and being protective of my time has been really helpful. But for the most part, I have not struggled with it because I feel like work doesn't feel like too much of a burden.
Good to know, Kenneth. Now, Kenneth, if I were to ask you to shed some light on some of the more tangible contributions by Korean Americans to their respective communities, what would you care to highlight?
Yeah, I would highlight three things. So the first one is entrepreneurship. I think Korean Americans we just have a spirit of entrepreneurship. And so when you come to Koreatown, Koreans only occupy 30% of Koreatown, but if you come, you'll know it's littered with Korean small businesses. Like, you're in Koreatown. And so I feel like we contribute to the local economy and to job creation. The second thing I would say is cultural enrichment. So every year we have something called the Korean Convention at the LA Convention Center, where we showcase and highlight different Korean products, like beauty products, K-pop, K-dramas. The organizers told me that 60% of people who attend are non-Koreans. And so there's so much interest in our culture, and I think we're a big import and export. And the last thing I'll highlight is I think we have huge community leadership and social support. So we have such great nonprofits in our community, like the Korean American Federation of LA, who was doing crucial work during the pandemic to bridge the language barrier for social services. Or like my own club, the Korean American Democratic Committee, where we're, trying to bridge the civic engagement and civic empowerment for our community. And so I would highlight those three items for our contribution to our communities.
Right. Then, Joy, as Kenneth mentioned, there's been quite a bit of global hype over K entertainment, including, of course, its music, movies and drama in recent years. What would you say are the broader implications of this reality on Korean Americans?
I think it's amazing to be able to see on, national media so many of Korean musicians and artists and so much of Korean culture highlighted in what we see and read daily. And I think even when, President Yoon was here and he delivered his address to Congress, even he was able to highlight some of those contributions from artists like Blackpink and BTS. And so I think it's, especially in my purview, it's amazing to see not only in a personal sense how much of it is highlighted in our daily lives, but also how it now integrates to politics. And there is an interest in foreign affairs from people who might not have been as aware of the political implications. So I think it's amazing.
Right, Kenneth, there was quite a bit of hype about frozen Korean kimbap, was it, in the US a while back? What was that like for you? Is that a part of the menu perhaps for lunch where you are?
It's hard to find. It's become such
so
a
I
craze.
Heard, right?
Able to try it.
Kenneth, does the result of the November US presidential race look to perhaps significantly affect Seoul-Washington ties, do you think?
So I'm in no way an expert on this, but I do know that, U.S. and Korea has always had strong alliances. And I just don't see that changing with different leadership. But I can only speak to the Democratic Party, and, the mayor and I would look forward to a Biden-Harris administration because I feel like we have always been supportive of a strong U.S.-Korea alliance. So that's all I'll say on that topic.
Right, so I'm sure you're keeping your fingers crossed then, right? Joy, what are your words of advice to those who are perhaps hoping to break into a career in US politics, like yourself?
I would say, garner all of your interest and make sure you're aware and have an idea of what is going on in the world and in the country, and be informed of, news and politics. And I would say, if there is an opportunity to gain experience anyhow, jump on that opportunity and take hold of that, because I think in every aspect of politics, the more experience you have, the more knowledge and the more comfort you have, in not only with what is happening in politics, but communicating with people and being able to discuss those issues. And so whether you're interested in policy or comms or operations or whatever the area may be, I think being informed and gaining experience and also reaching out to people who can be helpful to you and who can teach you, I think is great.
And Joy, what would you say is the greatest appeal of working in politics, if you were to pick one?
I think it is that you learn something new every day. You are, of course, in this intriguing world that sometimes may seem glamorous, and it's not as it may seem, but I do think that with all of the elements of being involved as a public servant, you truly learn something new every day, not only professionally, but about yourself as well. And I think that's the greatest reward.
Right. And Kenneth, what is your advice to those hoping to break into a career of U.S. politics?
Yeah, I would say get involved. You know, most campaigns run on volunteers, and I cannot tell you a single campaign that will refuse a volunteer. So my other advice would be to really study up on your candidates. Who you represent really matters in politics. And so, you know, if they're riddled with scandal, that follows you throughout your political career. And so I would say be careful about who you choose, but definitely get involved, because that's the first step, and it'll really open up doors to so many different opportunities. And so, yeah, just look up candidates that you can help out and just get involved, volunteer.
Kenneth, the common understanding among those in the U.S. when you ask them about the characteristics of Korean Americans is that they are hardworking, smart, and nice. If you could add an adjective to that list, what would you add about Korean Americans in general there in the U.S.?
I would say resilient and perseverant. We have gone through so much in Koreatown, in my community. So starting with the 92 riots and having to rebuild up, and then having to go through the pandemic, I really got to see the Korean perseverance and resilience through all that. So, yeah, I think we are hardworking, but we're also tough, and I think even in dire situations, we're able to pull ourselves out. So I'm very proud to say that I think we are a community of resilient people.
Right, and if I may add an adjective that, given my talk to the two of you today, it would have to be passion, perseverance and passion with regard to your work in U.S. politics then. Kenneth, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts, and Joy, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right, well, that ends Friday's edition of Issues and Insiders. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and see you same time next Monday.